Hello everyone, and welcome to this new stream. For once we'll do a night flight, something new for me. We're at the Madrid airport at the moment, and I've found a plane not connected to anything, without power, without anything, so we'll give it a shot and try to put our flight plan together and do a flight to Faro, so not like in the announcement screenshot, but this one is Madrid Faro. Alright, so let's jump into the cockpit, and as you can see everything is very dark. There's just an orange light flashing outside. First thing I'll try to do is see if I can set the lights, the overhead lights. I think this is the switch, yes, so just a light in the cockpit that can be turned on, and I also have external power available, so that's a good thing. When I just started up I didn't have this yet, so pushing the external power available, make sure the plane gets powered. We did basic checks already before I started the plane, but the thrust levers are idle, the flaps are up, the gear lever is down, the master switches are off, the wipers are off. So that's okay. So now we're connected to external power. That's good. We can look at our systems and start preparing for the flight. So initially I also would like to have a quick look at the plan and the fuel that we need to take on board. In the OFP, operational flight plan, I can import this from SimBrief. This is the only thing I prepared up front. So we click on import from SimBrief, and here we already have the weather in Madrid, the weather in Faro. A new addition to this model of fly-by-wire is apparently you cannot only get it in icons, what I had before, but the meta is also shown in text, so the classic meta text. The QNH is visible here, the temperature, dew point, the wind, the speed. So let me take a note of this, we'll need it later in the planning. QNH 1027, 150, 1 knot, so no wind, 8 degrees, and at our destination it's 1023, 80 wind, 7 knots, 15 degrees, a bit warmer. But also here dew point is below the temperature. Let's have a look at our fuel then. Fuel required 5.5 tons, and let's put it into the plane. Let's take 5.7. Alright, so I'll start the flows to power up the plane and configure it for takeoff. First I turn on the brightness of the screens. Always good to have that a bit brighter than the standard startup situation. Here on the bottom we'll put the floodlights on, integrated lights on. Also the MCDU, you can adjust the brightness here, you can adjust the brightness of the standby horizon. And then let's go through the flow. So external power, we turn it on, and we also switch the batteries on, then we check the power in the battery. The voltage, I should say, 28 volt, which sounds reasonable. Electronics, you can also monitor on the page down below here. In the ECAM display, the ELEC page, you'll see now the plane is powered from the external power, 115 volts, 400 hertz, and it's powering AC bus 1 and AC bus 2. There's a transformer rectifier going to the DC bus here as well. And DC bus being powered by DC batteries. Or in this case, no, the flow is like this. The transformer rectifier powers the DC bus and it's charging the batteries. So batteries are 28 volt, which is quite well charged. There is still some current going into them, here a little bit less. And yeah, these things you can monitor in the meantime. Going back to the overhead panel. On the left we'll turn on the oxygen for crew supply. Do a test on the cockpit voice recorder. We align the aiders. We'll do a test on the APU fire system. That works. And we can turn on the APU. Here we'll turn on the wing lights and the nav and logo lights. Next we switch on the seat belts. No smoking is in the auto position already, I think. Yeah, no, we'll put it in the auto position. And the emergency exit locators, we arm them. Here we can increase the overhead integrated lights, so we have the backlights here nicely. The dome lights we can now dim a little bit more. While taxiing we'll put them completely off them. So APU starting up. We can turn on the engine, so the fuel pumps. And a bit higher up we test the engine fire system 1, engine fire system 2. And that's all for here. The APU is in the meantime available, so we can turn on the APU bleed. And then we're set for the overhead panel. Coming back here, I forgot these lights. They can also be increased to see a bit better the instrumentation here. In the meantime, the aiders are still aligning, and we see they have 7 minutes to go. Fuel on board 5.7 ton, as I put in the flight pad. So it's time to configure the MCDU. Here we go to the MCDU page, ATSU, AUC select, and we go to the edit press. We request the data from SimBrief, in this case, from Madrid, Faro, 56 minutes. Flight time 5.7 on board, and this is our flight number, that's correct. The other thing we would do here is to have the passengers requested as well, so we can start boarding on here, so it's loading up nicely. And then we go to data page, aircraft status. We just switched to a new AirX cycle, so we have a new active database 27th of January, valid until 23rd of February, so that's nicely done. On the init page, we'll request a flight plan to be loaded. I'll again put a bit higher cost index for this short flight. Flight level 370 is our cruise. And then we can go to the flight plan. For Madrid, well, it's a bigger airport than I'm used to flying off, so there's a kind of section here for Madrid. It's called taxi, but it has all kind of airport briefing charts. When you go to the airport briefing charts, you'll see the procedures that you should use or should adhere to. You can also see preferential configuration of the runways between 7 and 23 local time. The departures are from runway 36 left or 36 right, or both. Arrivals are on 32 left, 32 right. Preferential south configuration is this one. So at the moment we have a wind of 1 knot with not a lot of change, so I'm assuming we will still have a departure from the 36 left. The other thing you can see here is in the briefing, so the arrival briefing, but there's also departure briefing. Departure briefing, you can see, for example, the taxi route configuration. We're currently located, and I should show the chart, in this section of the airport. We're parked here in stand T15 on Terminal 2 for general aviation, and if we zoom in, this is the 9E chart, which gives more detail. We're here on stand T15. Looking at the departure configuration, so we should be using stand 14 through 16, so R2 stand 14 through 16. This is the taxi route that we should take. So I8 will be pushed back to I8 or I9, and then we go to gate 2, and from there to M9, and then standard routing. So having a look at the chart here means that we, maybe I can get a more detailed one. If we're being pushed back from the T15 and the routing to the runway 36 left, we'll get pushed back to the India 8, and from there we taxi to gate 2. From gate 2 we go to Mike 9, this taxiway. So this is the taxiway that we will follow, and then it's standard routing, so the routing that we are being given. I'm assuming then we will get through gate 4 over Alpha, and from Alpha we'll be taxiing all the way up here to runway 36 left. Quite a drive. But okay, we're already relatively close. Then for the flight itself, we have a Charlie Sierra 5 Lima departure, which is an RNAV departure for 36 left. So we'll be departing runway 36 left. It's an RNAV departure, so point to point. It's not very exciting. So takeoff, we go above 5,200 feet, and then we go above 12,000 feet, and so on. So this is the departure we will fly, and that's what we'll select in our setup here for Madrid. Departure is going to be runway 36 left, and that's the Charlie Sierra. Now I have to look again. 5 Lima. Also this one. And we'll just insert this into our plan. For Faro, the wind was 080, so we can do an arrival. ILS arrival on the runway 10, and having a look, this is the ILS Zulu arrival, and for this there is a Sotex 7 Charlie arrival chart, so let's have a look. Sotex 7 Charlie, so let's put those in. ILS 10 Zulu with Sotex 7 Charlie. Insert. And that should bring us back to our flight plan. Excellent. Yeah, we can see here, and let's go into the plan mode while having a look at the MCDU at the same time. So we put it to plan here. I think I can put it to 14. And then look at our plan. So we're departing from Madrid. And then we go to overfly the Sierra Yankee. That's after the runway. And then we go to Mike Delta 039. From there we go to Avila, to Longa to Charlie Charlie Sierra, and from there there's a discontinuity, but let's put that together here. Going to Elvar, Sotex, Usala, Vinol, decelerate 34, Fox Romeo 455, flap, and back to the runway. So that's a nice little flight. Okay, so I'll not spend too much time here on the configuring the rest. Very detailed. I'll just put this back, going back to the MCDU to finish our flow. RATNAV, yeah, it's an RNAV departure. I will put in the Sierra Sierra Yankee, which we are overflying. And Charlie Charlie Sierra, which is the exit VOR, just so that we have a bit of a reference there. And let's turn the VORs on them. Which we can now see on the navigation display. Good. Next we go to the init B page, where we can put in our zero fuel weight now, with passengers loaded. Fuel is 5.7 block fuel. Performance, we'll do a flap 1 takeoff. We have a long runway anyway. But we're higher, so that could impact the takeoff performance. Then this transition altitude here is 13,000 feet, which is also on the chart, on our departure chart, 13,000. So that's correct. Next we will calculate the V1 speed. It's 131, 132, 136. Alright, that's takeoff performance in the box. Next phase, climb, cruise, descent. QNH for Faro is 10. 2, 3. And then temperature was a bit warmer. 15 degrees. Magnetic wind was 080, 7 knots, and we can put it in there. So for our landing performance, the minima for the ILS are decision altitude of 2 to 4 feet, so we can put that in as well. And then we're ready with the setup of the MCDU. Good. Let's go through our checklist then. Radio setup, the MCDU data is checked, MCDU is set up, RATNAV set up, IFR clearance is received, flight plan is reviewed, AFIS navigates as required, and takeoff briefing completed. Squawk is set, let's say it's set. So that's our cockpit preparation done. I will now request a pushback. I'm wondering if I would ever actually have a pushback here, but let's try it. I'll call the type already. Then pre-startup, APU master is on, APU started, MCDU weights are inserted, take performance calculate, V-speeds are there, APU bleed is on, external power off. Let's turn off the external power, yep. and the air conditioning as required. Windows and doors, so that's the pre-startup checklist complete. Windows and doors, we should close the doors here. Fuel pumps on, beacon, that's a beacon on. Steering pin inserted, the transponder should be in auto. TCAS standby, the clock we put to run, and the parking brake as required. We'll I have a tug, but it's not really under the front wheels. Let's see if that works out. I'll release the parking brake and I'll request the tug to push me back. That seems to work. Good, good. In the meantime, we'll start the engines. So engine mode selected to ignite, ignition and start. Engine number 2 starting. Here we can follow on the engine page the parameters of the engine startup. In the meantime, I'm checking if we get pushback nicely. And we should be getting a pushback to this India 8. %9 and 1. That's our first engine started. It's available. We started second engine. Let's start the pushback here. Set the parking brake and release the tug. Taxiing by night will be a little bit challenging, but let's see. And that's the second engine started, so we have 2 good engines, and now we can put the mode selector back to normal. We'll arm the spoilers, put the flaps to our takeoff position, set the auto brake to max, the APU bleed can also go now, as well with the APU. Runway turn on lights, nose taxi lights, strobe we can turn on. Let's check the flight controls. Full left. Full left. Full right. Full down. Full up. Ailerons left and right ailerons. That's all working fine. So we have our flight controls checked. The steering pin is removed. Our pitch trim. Let's have a look. It's 24.8. so we can trim to 24.8. And then the rudder trim resets. Good. Before taxi, checklist complete. So our nose light is to taxi. The turn-off lights are on, the strobes are auto, parking brake is off, and we can also do a takeoff check here. Okay, it's still warning about the predictive furniture, but we put that on later in the taxi. So let's advance the thrust levers a little bit. And let's find the taxiway. I believe this is gate 2. And it's Mike, so here we can turn left on Mike 9. And from here we taxi all the way up north, parallel to the runway 32 left. Right, that's it. Now we have a stretch ahead, so in the meantime I'll turn on the weather radar and the predictive wind shear. I'll reduce the taxi speed a little bit. So if all is well, we're now taxiing here on this M9. We'll get to gate 4. We continue M11, M12. Mike, I should say. In distance we can already see one of the runways 36. Reducing speed a little bit to normal 60 knots. Let's ding the cabin in the meantime.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
Dim the overhead lights. Here I'll turn on Hotel 2. And back to Alpha 14 in this case. And now we're approaching the Zulu 2 gates. And the holding point for runway 36 left. Turn on parking brakes. So we'll switch on the landing lights now. And those will to takeoff lights. The TCAS, we'll put it to traffic avoidance resolution advisory above, so it's fine. Weather radar is on, predictive frontier is on, weather mode is as required, and takeoff memo no blue, so let's release the parking brakes and enter the runway. Runway 36 left. So let's take the chart of departure at hand. Straight out, 3 to 1, and then an RF departure. Increase total to 40%, stabilize, flex thrust, side stick forward. Knots. We release the back pressure. 100 knots. Positive rate, gear up. We overfly Sierra Yankee. After which we do it heading 3, 2, 1. Actually a track 3, 2, 1. Just climb. And we can follow the flight path. Flight plan, sorry. Climb out blue. And let's go to 370, flight level 370, quite a high flight level. For a short flight like this. We see other traffic on the TCAS system, 9,400 feet above and climbing, so not a danger. It says it's climbing, but it seems to be decreasing in difference because we're also climbing, of course. So now we're on this section that brings us over the mountains area. 8,000 feet is the highest point, and we're already at 10,000. So 10,000, we turn off the landing lights, and we also turn on the nose wheel lights. When we turn off lights months ago, and we can release the passengers for now. So we continue our climb. In the meantime, 13,000 feet, we would have to switch to the flight level system. So I have a bit of time to do that. In the meantime, let's calculate the top of descent in case we would be at our flight level 370, which seems quite high. Let's see to which altitude we'll have to descend if we follow the star, the star for Faro that we intend to follow. So we'll come from Sotex, Ursula, expected to be at 5,000 feet minimum. Ursula, let's have a look. 3,000, yeah, so we'll aim for 5,000 to start with. So that descent would have to be done 100 nautical miles before the target. Let me draw a quick line around our target, which is I think Soltex actually, or let's say Ursula, yeah. So we go to the flight plan page, top left, fix info. Ursula. Not in database, maybe I remembered incorrectly. Usalu. And here we put 100 nautical mile radius. So that would mean if we increase the range a bit, but here more or less we'll have to start our descent, so it's not unlogical, it seems. So going to standard. We have quite some distance to cover. 327. I thought it was closer by, but so much better. So we just left Madrid. We are about here. Let me turn on the flight status. There you go, so you can follow a bit how far we are, the speed that we have, the heading and so on. So currently we are just turning into this leg, so we're joining the Upper Zulu 436 to Charlie Charlie Sierra, and from there we have a relatively small normal part of the flight that then joins again to our arrival procedure. This is about 100 nautical miles already. This is about 40, so yeah. And here we'll start our ILS approach. Let's have a look at the ILS approach. Starting with the approach itself. We're coming from Soltex. On the right hand side we'll have an highest objective tower, it seems, of 3,100 feet. But once in Isla, which is also a holding point with a minimum holding altitude of 5,000 feet. We continue our approach to Vino, which is the initial approach fix for this section. Another holding at this time, minimum of 3,000 feet. Vino is on the radio 286 from Faro, 14 nautical miles. So this one we can use quite nicely for our RadNav planning. Let's have a look at the NDBs we're currently using. So the Charlie Charlie Sierra is indeed in front of us. We're measuring 105 nautical miles to go there. Longa. Yeah, we're still going to a point called Longa first. Charlie Sierra. So where was I? The RadNav page. Here we can add the Faro VOR because it's an interesting one for our arrival. As you can see on the chart, Vinol at radio 286 from Faro, Victor Fox Alpha. And a course of 286. The ILS itself. So here is our initial approach fix for the ILS. Next is the procedure itself. Have a quick look at the speed restriction. So there's a maximum to 80. Below flight level 70 is 220. So if we arrive at 5,000 feet, it would be maximum 220. Then transition level is set by ATC, so we don't really know what the transition level is. So coming from Vinol, initial approach fix, we'll go to the ILS chart then. Vinol's here. Which routes us to Fox Romeo 455. Seems like a RadNav point or fix. Which is the start of our ILS. This point is 10 nautical miles from Fox India Tango, the identifier of our ILS. So let's have a look. Fox India Tango 110.5, that's correct, and the course is 101, is also correct. Vinol to Fox Romeo 455, 2,000 feet should be there. So we're leaving at 3,000, 2,000 over here, and then the approach. There's a missed approach which will bring us to Guimau, and from that point on, also with reference to Faro, from that point on we'll be vectored in back to the ILS itself. For a missed approach, we'll climb straight ahead to 3,000 feet and passing 2,000 feet, turn right to Guimau and holding contact Faro approach. And that's quite straightforward then. Minimum safe altitudes in the sector 1, we have 3,500 feet north of Faro, 3,000 in between those two sectors, 3,000 between those two, and 1,400 south of Faro. As at sea, it's quite normal that it will be so low. In profile, after leaving at 2,000 feet, we'll intercept around 6 DME the glide slope, bring us down to the runway missed approach point, 0.8 DME from the ILS, or 1.4 from the VOR, which is probably located at the end of the runway or in the middle of the runway. Yeah. So that's the Zen path we follow. Altitudes. So if we take the ILS as a reference, 5 DME, left to be at 1,670 feet, 4,1350, 1,000, so we can follow that down to the runway, verify our instruments and situational awareness. Missed approach procedure, just straight out, climb 2,000 feet. Straight out, and at 2,000 feet the next step. So we will have to do something at 2,000 feet, which is turn right to Guimau, but of course the climb is 3,000 feet, which is the minimum holding altitude. Good, that's quite detailed. The quite simple approach here. Just for information, you can also have a look at straight in landing for runway 10. Normal minimum of 2 to 4 feet, which we put in the box. The full lighting system, even when it's out, then we'll need a higher runway visual range. Circling is not allowed north of the runway. Understandable because of the terrain. Okay, so let's see how far we progressed in the meantime. There is some interesting traffic going on. Airplane 400 feet below us, so it becomes a full diamond here, 500 feet below us, because it could potentially be more dangerous, but it's already now 700 feet below, so we'll not have any problem with that. The other one is 3,000 feet above us, so also flight level 380 even, maybe 370. So we might be having a couple of colleagues following the same route out. Now I'll try to show you a bit of the surroundings, but I'm sure it's not going to be special. Orange hue at the horizon. Flight level 360, 1,000 feet to go. So finally we're at flight level 370, cruising flight level, alt cruise, flying back number now, 0.78, which is typical. About 100 nautical miles to go before our top descent, so I'll get a little drink and see you back in a few minutes. Hello everyone, welcome back. We're turning now. At least it seems we're turning. Yes, to Sotex. And we're about to start our descent. We just entered Portugal, we crossed the border, which you can see in Navigraph easily with world map. And if we plot our location on it, so we were just at this turning point, so we crossed the border here. And we're heading for Évora, after which we'll turn south for our descent and approach to Faro. Where we cross the arc is about the start of our top of our descent. We reviewed the descent already, we reviewed the landing procedure. Still have a little bit of light outside of the cockpit. At least on the west side. On the east side we have darkness everywhere. Alright, so I'll start the descent slowly. Let's go down to 11,000 feet. And we hear the engines going down. Have a bit of tailwind, not too much. And we go to descent, melt capture, just idle. The other planes that we had before us, they are gone in the meantime, so nobody around here. TCAS we should also put to below now instead of above. But even then we don't look lower than... We don't see anybody lower either. I'll remove the fix info just to avoid cluttering the screen too much. So we do it by pressing clear on the reference point here. Thirty nautical miles from Sotex, which is officially the start of our star, but it's not even on the map here. TCAS traffic now, minus 7 down 600, minus 7 down 500, it's ending as well. And we're turning south now. Straight south. To Usalu. $20,000 feet, 19,000 feet. already set the barometer to 1023. I should have put it to standard while we were flying. This one will also be 1023. I'll put it ready already. Let's get another update of the weather in the meantime. From the MCDU, we go to the weather request. And we'll just send the request for the METARs. Six nautical miles from Usalu. Received messages meter, and the meter for Faro is 0806 knots, which is more or less the same, a bit less wind. QNH of 1023, which is the same, and fuel cloud at 4,500 feet. Temperature 14 degrees, so it cooled down a little bit, so we'll have to update this in our arrival data. And 080 6 knots. Let's put 5,000 here. So you'll notice around 10,500 normally, a bit higher. The airplane will stop the vertical speed and will level off to reduce the speed itself to 250 knots. Once it's at 250 knots, it will not have energy enough to keep it at 250 knots, and then we'll have again descending vertical speed. Descending altitude is to keep 250 stable. So here comes the constraint 250. You'll see the vertical speed decreasing to 0. And the speed running back. It is predicted speed in I think 10 seconds. So that's the rate it will reduce the speed by. So in 10 seconds it's expected to be 260 knots. Still a little bit of vertical speed, but now we're at 250 more or less, so the autopilot can then continue to descend, so not to slow down any further through 10,000 feet. So we'll turn on our landing lights now and enable the seatbelts again. Still 34 nautical miles from Osalu. After Osalu, it will go quite fast because then we will have to be in Vinol, which will bring us quite quickly to the ILS. Starting point. And from Vinol we'll go to 2,000 feet, so 3,000 now, 2,000 in Fox Romeo 455, and then we'll intercept localizing right slope and land. On the left we have Urik. One hour in flight. And there we are, more or less 5,000 feet. So we'll wait until passing Osala to descend to 3,000 feet. Star. And you hear the engines pulling up. To maintain 250 knots. So below flight level is 70. We should be below a speed of 220 knots, and let's put in 210. We'll get a better reference again. So it's wrongly set to the QFE. Which will be 0 at the airfield level. And we always fly QNH, of course. The airfield has an elevation of 24 feet, so it's not going to be a big difference. In terms of our planning after landing, we'll land on runway 10 and we'll exit either Charlie 1 or Romeo Delta. To the left of the runway. Good visibility. Should be landing in about 8 minutes, according to the FMS. And I believe we can already see the coastline here. The very southern point of Europe. After which we have Africa over there. So approaching Usalu. Bit more lights outside. On the Portuguese south coast. And here we are in 1 nautical mile from Usalu. No traffic around, it seems. And we're switching to Vinol, so we can descend to 3,000 feet. Let's reduce speed to 180 knots. Or 170 even. And let's get 1 degree of flaps out. Let's turn on the ILS receiver symbols on the PFD. So descent checklist, MCU landing performance reviewed, TCAS is below, approach briefings completed, navigates are reviewed, NDS is required, EFIS navigation display constraints are set, seatbelt signs as required, barometer set, below 10,000 feet seatbelt signs on, landing lights is on, and wing lights are on. Descent checklist complete. Now there we are in Vinol. after which we can descend to 2,000 feet for our intercept of the glide slope. I'll get 2 degrees of flaps out now. Left turn to Fox Airman of 455.
2,500.
Gear down. It might have been a bit early. On the localizer. The localizer, lock star. Arm the auto brakes, arm the spoilers, and press approach to intercept also the glide slope. Setting the missed approach altitude. We have headwind 60 knots in this case, but it's coming more or less straight at us here. The glide slope is active. At 6 DME of the ILS Foxtrot India Tango, we should start our descent, and it's a 3-degree descent angle. So 6.7 at 6 we should intercept the glide slope. We can see the lights of the puppy, 3 reds, 1 white, even 2 whites I guess now. So that's also working out. Glide slope capture. Add flaps 3. And full flaps. Exiting the cabin.
Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
but for DME we should be 1,350 feet. We seem to be higher. And it's also noticeable at the puppies. Disengage the autopilot.
1,000.
Landing checklist, if it is as required. Gears down in green, external lights are all.
$500.
Auto brake set, spoilers are armed, flaps are landing normally.
400. 300.
Landing.
100 above. 200. Minimum.
Continue.
100. 50. 40. 30, 20, 10, 5.
Reverses. Auto brake. Reverse it off. Take Charlie here. And let's stop after vacating the runway. Put the landing lights to off. Nose to taxi. Start the view. And remove the weather radar and the predictive winch here. TCAS can go to standby. Continue the taxi to the gates. And we can take in the flaps, disarm the spoilers. And we can drive to the parking stand. There's one plane here, but we can take one next to it. So welcome in Faro. Hope you enjoy this flight. If you like more of these flights, feel free to subscribe to the channel or find me on Twitch. and any suggestions are of course welcome for other flights. We've transferred the south part of Europe. We'll probably go north now to do a bit of a tour around. Set the parking brakes, and engine 1 can be killed, engine 2 can also be off. And that's it, we've arrived here for this night flight, short night flight between Spain and Portugal. Hope you enjoy your stay and see you next time. Thank you. Bye.